Welcome to the Microcast, the short-form podcast from Microcosm Coaching, where we break down the science, strategy, and psychology behind smarter endurance training. Each week, we tackle a key concept in running, training, or recovery, and we give you practical tools you can apply right away, whether you're building back, leveling up, or chasing down a big goal. We keep it short, evidence-based, and grounded in real coaching experience. No hype, no fluff, just actionable insights to help you train sustainably and perform at your best. Let's get into it. Welcome back.
We are back.
So excited.
I am excited. This is a fun way to end the day.
I love it. And I feel very warm today because I've had many hours of calls already.
And because it has been hot as hell here in Colorado. And here everywhere. I don't know that I've had an athlete in their log be like, running feels so good right now.
I feel like this is every summer, though. We always feel like it's really hot, and it is just objectively hot. And we forget that sometimes that really makes us feel unfit, unmotivated, makes us feel fatigued.
Yeah.
I've been feeling that a little bit, I think. And I think you were this weekend too, in your training.
Yeah, I'm sort of in the midst of my peak training for Run Rabbit 100 and went up to Aspen. I've been trying to do more runnable terrain to kind of get my intensity factor closer to what it would be during Run Rabbit, which is like a very runnable, not technical, not super steep race. So I wanted to go run Aspen, which has pretty similar vertical gain per mile. And it's not that high. Like, it's a little higher. It's like just below 8,000 feet when you're starting in town. And I felt like I was getting slayed by the heat. So
I ran in Hunter Creek, Aspen zone, same as you on Sunday. And I think there was some kind of a canyon effect going on in there.
It was so gnarly.
Because it wasn't that, like, actually that hot on the thermometer. But when I dropped into Hunter Creek, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I started sweating like profusely.
I literally laid in Hunter Creek. I took my vest off and laid down in the creek.
It's so hot. And
it was smoky. It was like just smoky enough to be like, yeah, it's a little smoky, but it wasn't over 100. So I was like, okay, as long as I'm not coughing, this will be fine. It was a whole shit show. So I'm embracing it. I always feel like I have my best races after like a couple long runs that just make me question everything.
I think it's good rationale for having a fall race when things start to cool off, when those evening hours actually get into the 50s or 60s. And in your case, Rabbit is like legitimately cold at night.
Oh yeah.
Crewing that race, I like have to bring 2 down jackets because it's so cold.
Well, because you're just sitting.
It's a lot of sitting, but it's a lot. It's a long sit.
It's a
for
long
those
sit.
who know the race. But it's cold. It's a really cold race. So,
the temperature swings are kind of wild.
That really makes it more difficult. I think that it'll be fun to see, how that training in the heat does impact your race performance in a way that it's not like we're gonna necessarily be fitter as a result of running in the heat. But when that heat does come down, we tend to have managed the heat for so many months that all of a sudden we're like, whoa, this feels easier. Whoa, I am faster.
Yeah.
And that kind of cover comes off of things. And that's a really nice feeling.
It is. Yeah. And also, like, what else are you going to do? You can either embrace it or that's it. Those are your options.
Or not.
You can embrace it or not.
So we'll embrace it.
So we're embracing it. Yeah.
I love that.
You're tapering for Leadville.
We're tapered.
How are you feeling? How are things
tapered?
I feel from the outside, it seems like this has been one of your better training blocks in a while.
Definitely.
How are you feeling? You're feeling excited?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel really pumped for the race. And I think it's crazy that we are a week and a half-ish out from the race and don't know the course yet.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's fun,
I have 2 guys running the race. So,
Yeah, we're all
thoughts and prayers.
We're all in the same boat. I think it's, given the situation with the fires in the area, it's amazing that the race is even going to go forward and we all have to be flexible about it. I'm not too worried. There's only so many places they can put a course.
Yeah.
So if you use your brain, you can kind of deduce
Yeah. It's
down
not a,
to like,
it's not
okay,
a
it's going to be this road or it's gonna be
huge
that
mystery.
road.
Yeah.
Right. It's probably not going to be another mountain.
Not going to be Highway 24.
Yeah, but we're not going to be running any 14ers. There's not going to be any big
Just going to
surprises.
do the Nolan's route for
Right?
Leadville.
Just becomes hard rock
It just
instead.
becomes hard rock. Honestly, that would be so sick watching all these like lifetime gym members try to do Nolan's.
It would be amazing.
There's not enough search and rescue personnel in the world.
Only if it was an out and back Nolan's.
Yeah, out and back Nolan's.
So like I get to see everybody on the way back how they're doing.
Just
check
like
in with them.
street fields like strewn with the bodies of tech workers.
Exactly.
But I'm curious because like, you know, there was kind of a moment where you were like, I doubt Leadville's going to happen. It is going to happen, which is great. But, you know, you've sort of been sitting in this place of uncertainty. We've had some athletes, you know, the Ura 100 was canceled. So uncertainty has kind of been a bigger part of the equation this summer, maybe even more than historically. I'm curious like how you thought about that and how you've helped athletes navigate that, just because 100s are a pretty big undertaking, right? Like we orient a lot of our calendar around our 100-mile races for the year. So how do you deal with the fact that like the biggest event you'll race this year, it may or may not have happened? Like, what are your thoughts?
Wow, such a great question, Zoe. Thank you. I don't know. Honestly, I approach it in the same way that like a lot of my athletes approach something like Hard Rock if they're on the wait list, or Western States if they're on the wait list, where we have a plan A, which is like, okay, we're getting off this wait list and it's going to be a go.
Yeah.
And then we have a plan B race that would be equally as interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of struggled figuring out what my plan B was going to be. I think
you were gesturing at Rio del Lago just to rip out like an 17-hour 100
or less.
Or 16 for you, maybe. Like
I think, did you do a 16-hour race there?
I did like 18.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty quick for you.
I just like the idea of running 100 miles inside of the same day.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend 2 days out there. That's just me.
That's a lot of
That's
days.
just me. I don't want to do that. So I like that race. That race speaks to me. Like I'd rather do a really mountainous 50 miler or 100K than do a super, super long 100 I think at this point.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that and like I was honestly just thinking about like, yeah, whatever. It's okay not to race.
Yeah.
And I was kind of fine with that because for me, the build, I just got to live the life I wanted to live.
Yeah.
So that was really fulfilling. I did a lot of really big adventures, like every single weekend. I had great, it was really fun. That's how I kind of want to spend my summers. I didn't spend last summer doing as much of that.
Yeah.
And so I kind of missed that this year. And it kind of helped me re-engage with my why and stuff like that, which is probably leading to me having a much better attitude around this 100 than I think I did with Run Rabbit last year. So yeah, I mean, things are good. I feel so tired.
Yeah.
In this taper, I feel exhausted. I don't know. I felt exhausted last week. I don't know if that's like, wow, all the accumulated training is finally hitting me, or what, but fingers crossed that I do start to like turn the corner by next week. Still a ton of time between now and race day.
And fatigue can resolve pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Bring that volume down.
And I think like my coach, I feel like he likes to, go to like the very last day to like, for that recovery.
Yeah.
I'm still getting used to that a little bit.
No, I think that's such an interesting sort of tension. And I think that these moments like, will Leadville happen, can be a really good gut check on like, am I building my race calendar and like, am I making decisions in my life just to take it to a big macro level? They're in alignment with my values, right? Because if like Leadville went away and you went to pieces and you're like, I've wasted all this time, my life has no meaning, that's not great. No. If it went away and you felt relieved and you felt like you got a bunch of time back, that would also not be great because that would tell me you weren't invested and this wasn't like maybe right for you. Like whenever an athlete takes a goal off their schedule and they feel relieved, I'm like, that's really good information. We should sit with that.
Oh, 100%. I think you nailed both ends of that. And I can only, speak for myself and in my coaching experience, but I have seen many athletes like not know what to do when that race is canceled. And I get it. Like it sucks when the thing that you've been training for doesn't get to move forward and you can't
If you're not
pursue
upset
it.
at all, that's bad.
Yeah,
like you should feel something.
That's totally, it's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to be frustrated, but I sometimes hear athletes like over embellish this kind of thing. I'm gutted by it, or I'm devastated by it. Like, guys, this is a race.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the process of training for this race, you got to do the runs that help to elevate your life.
Right.
And so then that one race doesn't carry
all that weight. Yeah.
If you're putting that much weight on just one goal a year or a handful of things a year,
you need to like the training more.
Totally.
If you don't like the training more than the racing, that is a problem.
It is. Like that puts so much pressure on one individual moment. And of course, like it's nice to have goals. They're a great North Star. They help facilitate us living the lives we want to have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need to keep a healthy grasp around these goals. And I feel like I did that really well this year, especially compared to last year. But like the context is really different.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, you know, around this time, I was still really dealing with a lot of really challenging health issues with my dad. And I did not have as much mental bandwidth.
Yeah.
My stress levels, the ambient undercurrent of stress in my life was just really high.
Yeah.
And so like my actual capacity to like manage how hard 100-miler is, it was diminished.
Yeah.
And then I made mistakes on the race day, and that, you know, what happened. Good learning opportunity. But fortunately, like this year, there was still a big undercurrent of stress, really, really hard. I mean, honestly, I thought January, February, March was like the hardest moment in my life since getting divorced.
Mm-hmm. Not to me. We're still
to
clarify.
Different relationship. But that was a meaningful like stress moment for me.
Yeah.
In many, many years. And looking and saying like, wow, I've gotten to move through that. And I kept going, and I feel like I'm at a really good place.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes.
Like I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
And that's a nice, I don't know, like mentality or energy or context to take into a race. So we'll see what happens.
So hold it lightly.
Hold it lightly.
You know,
you want
to hold it. Like if it doesn't mean anything, that's not great. Like, you know, if you're paying a coach and doing training and giving money to ultra sign up or whatever, and it means nothing to you, I think you should check yourself and find out what your real desires are. And if you're like white knuckling it and clinging to it because it's the only thing in your life that like you have for you, that also merits some investigation. So
totally.
I love,
like we talked about in the podcast, you know, last week, if you're pushing through a lot of life stress in the context of your training, it's really important to adjust your expectations around how that race experience is going to go down, if it really is appropriate for you at the time.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff, because there's a long arc here.
Yeah.
For all of us. Like that's why we have this podcast, to help you guys have a long arc in your training and your athletic lives, your running career. No one race makes or breaks that arc. We all feel like it's up to this one season or whatever, but that's just not the that's not the actual reality of how anything in this process works, or how we want our athletes to think about things, and or how we want this community that we're building to think about things. Like, hey, you can loosen your grip around this if it happens. Awesome, let's go for it. Let's go for the highest outcome we can. You know, if it doesn't, okay, let's celebrate what we were able to do and see how we can pivot.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Amazing.
What are we getting into today?
Well, we're going to have some hot or nots. We have a fun listener question, but we're going to spend the bulk of today's conversation that we haven't already spent talking about our feelings, talking about downhill running, which is something that I know I, as a coach, get a lot of questions about. So
great topic.
Strength training for downhill running, the technical part of it, the training part of it, repeat bout effect. We're playing the hits today.
All right. Let's start with hot or not blood donation.
Deep breath.
Oh boy. Okay.
This is
I'll-
tough because like it is a net positive for the world and people should absolutely do it.
okay.
And
I'm just gonna
it's
straight up say
really not good for
blood
athletes.
donations are not hot
Yeah.
if you're in the middle of building for
Yeah.
a race. A whole
Yeah.
blood donation takes about a pint of your blood.
It's so much
That
blood.
is a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot of blood. And that's roughly 10% of your red blood cells and somewhere around 200 to 250 milligrams of iron.
That's not nothing.
Now, yeah, hold on to your blood, my friends.
We work it's so fun because like so many people are working so hard to build their blood in other ways with like the heat stuff and the beats, like doing all these things. And then there's other people that are like, YOLO, I'm going to give this shit away, which again, like we definitely need people to do that. And you definitely shouldn't do that in a key part of your training because those red blood cells are what carry oxygen. So if you have fewer of them, like 10% fewer, that means less oxygen is getting delivered with each heartbeat. So your heart rate is going to climb significantly at any given pace and everything will feel harder. Like when you look at the research, the hits to VO2 max after, which like this is a nightmare having to do a VO for me. Like this is my personal hell with
doing
like,
a VO2 max test after blood
with
donation.
less blood. Yeah.
Oh,
like
miserable.
It can impact people. Like it can reduce your VO2 max by like 10%, which makes sense.
No.
And it will remain not like always at that 10%. It'll reduce down, but it'll remain impacted for 2 weeks. So the recovery here happens on a couple different timelines. So I think this is what's important for people to understand is that your plasma volume comes back in a day or two. So you might start feeling relatively normal pretty fast. And that's actually where a lot of people get into trouble because your red blood cell mass actually takes roughly 4 to 6 weeks to rebuild. And your iron stores can take months. So again, especially if you're someone that's had a fraught history with iron, that's a big thing to keep an eye on. And I really think that iron ends up being a big limiter here because runners are already at a high risk of not having sufficient iron because of foot strike hemolysis, sweat and GI losses, hard training, all of those things push down your iron. So if you need to donate blood, and again, like the thing that's tough is like, I wish that there is a way of saying like, yes, you can do this and like doing the right thing won't impact your training, but we're big adults here. We can talk about the science and enable people to like make whatever decision feels best for them. But there is not a world where donating blood won't negatively impact your training. So if that is a big core value to you and that is a way that you think is really important for you to give back to the world, and hear you, I understand that. We all have different ways of doing that.
Do it after your A race.
Yes. Yeah. Donate in the off season or like very early in a base build, like not in like a big race specific build, not within, I would say 8 to 10 weeks of a goal race for sure. And have a good plan for how you're intentionally going to rebuild after, because you're going to need to take 2 or 3 genuinely easy days. You're going to see elevated heart rate for at least a week or two. So don't do workouts. Maybe some strides to just reinforce that top end. I also think it's good. Like one of the few, I'm not a fan of like just blood testing randomly, trying to like look for shit that's going wrong in your body. I don't think that's very smart. But I think ferritin can be one of those things that's worth getting tested regularly for athletes, particularly if you menstruate, live at altitude, or don't eat a lot of red meat. So know your ferritin before you donate rather than after. I always think that it's also worth a conversation with your doctor if you have a primary care provider, or potentially with Kylie as well, in terms of making sure you orient your nutrition to support this blood recovery.
Love it. All right, random pacers, hot or not?
What about you? Because I know you're assembling your squad of pacers for Leadville. How's that going?
It's going well. None are random.
Yeah, they're all known entities.
They are.
You didn't just like get on Tinder and be like, yo, hit me up.
I mean, people do get matched often with random pacers. Pacers can show up and volunteer to pace at a lot of races. I think that's pretty cool. I mean, there's folks who don't have big support groups that go out to races with them. They go solo, but then, maybe they need a little help getting in from mile 70
Yeah.
at Leadville, and having somebody there who like is volunteering to pace is sweet. I mean,
Yeah.
that's great.
Especially at Leadville, because your pacers can mule stuff for you, so they can
Yeah.
carry things, which
No,
is
that's cool. And
a huge feature.
I think it's a nice way for people to volunteer in the community. And I personally wouldn't use one just because I don't know, like I'm fortunate. I have I have people who want to pace and like come out to the race and are willing to donate their time to me.
Like
it feels weird to say that, but that's what's
partner.
happening.
That is what's I love pacing. I wish more people invited me to crew and pace, because I think you can actually, I think as an app,
ready for those emails to come in.
well, within reason, right? Like, I am not your girl if you're trying to do a 40-hour hard rock. Like, I'm good on the walking for this summer. I did soft rock. I did my time. Loved it, but I'm good. I think that pacing can be really beneficial. Like pacing, particularly someone who's of a similar ability level to you, or maybe even better. Like, I love pacing you because I get to see how you do races, how you navigate things. I get to push you, and I get to see you at both really amazing uplifting moments and in less uplifting moments. I got to see you sing Natasha Bedingfield's Unwritten on the Western States course, which is a beautiful memory.
Beautiful memory.
I was like, oh my God, TJ's hallucinating. It's so bad. Harvey Lewis is running like right behind us, and TJ's having like a full like psychotic break here.
It's a lot of time out there, guys.
And I always am hesitant. Like, I don't want athletes donating all of their weekend runs to pacing, because especially for not elites, like there's a lot of walking involved, and it's really hard on the body. Like,
it's a lot. It's a big stress. It's a big thing to ask somebody to pace you. I do not love the idea of pacing for 30, 40 miles, like doing an
ultra. I'm not super into that.
In your pacing volunteer. Like, don't volunteer to pace an ultra. Then you have to train to do that. Like, maybe if that's your goal,
like,
but
you're spending your chips, like, it's sort of like giving someone else, I don't know, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask of your body. You have to be so realistic of what you're giving. And when you're realistic, that means that you can be, I mean, again, like, I love pacing you. I am excited to give you that chunk of my training and night, whatever may come, because there's no guarantee that you'll be ripping. Last time I paced you at Leadville, you were not ripping.
There was no rip.
Minimal ripping occurred.
There's a lot of walking.
We walked pretty hard. So, it can always go either way. I also like not having pacers. So, one of the things I like about Run Rabbit, I feel like it helps you focus. I'm a more experienced 100-mile runner, and I sort of like that mental space, and I don't think it's for everyone. A lot of your European races, you don't get to have pacers, so it's good practice for that. So, there's a lot of different ways to approach it, but I think that being realistic about what you're giving when you volunteer to pace someone, being realistic about what you're asking when you ask someone to crew or pace you. And a lot of times strangers just don't really factor into equation for me.
Totally. I agree. For me too. I need to have people that I'm comfortable with, being able to show them all sides of myself, and feeling safe with them is important, because, these races, they pull a lot out of you.
Yes, they do.
And, it can get hard out there.
Yeah.
So, hey, I don't know. I don't have a clear hot or not.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the idea of it's pretty hot.
Yes.
I love
community
for people.
Yeah. But mileage may vary.
Yeah.
Again,
All right. Listener question.
I'm training for my second 50 miler on about 7 hours a week, and I follow a couple of professional runners on Strava. Their weeks look like a totally different sport. They're doing 20 plus hours, 20,000 feet of vert. They're doing doubles, altitude camps. It makes me feel like whatever I'm doing isn't real training. Is elite ultra training actually fundamentally different from what the rest of us do, or is it just more of the same?
Man, it's a good question.
It is. And I want to ask you, because you coach more elites than I do, and you also coach a majority of people, both of us coach, just statistically, are everyday amazing athletes, like parents, partners, dog moms, school teachers going out there and crushing. So I'm curious how you think about that delineation, if such a thing exists.
I think it's just a nice short answer here of there's not a lot of difference actually between what a elite runner's training looks like and what a amateur runners training looks like.
Right.
It's kind of like we're following the same recipe, the same philosophy, the same principles.
Yeah.
Just like applying a different dose.
Yes.
So like I'm going to make the same cookies with you as I'm making with someone else, but like with that's other athlete, we might need to make a lot more cookies.
Right.
So, the dose is bigger, but the recipe remains the same. And I think that's really key because the physiology is identical. Like we're training for the same things. We're training for more efficient more mitochondria, denser capillary beds, improved stroke volume, better lactate clearance, fat oxidation. Like we're training for all the same stuff.
Yeah.
So like the pro isn't training for something different than those things.
Right. Like they're not accessing totally different systems that are unavailable to us mere mortals.
Exactly. And like the same thing is like, okay, well, we're using the same tools to likely produce the same kind of outcomes, just on a different level.
Yeah.
So like we're still doing a lot of the same boring work. We're doing like 80% of our easy runs, like 80% of our training very easy. We're doing, maybe 20% hard. There's a lot of steady state, there's threshold intervals, there's long runs, there's back-to-back long runs, there's strides, there's hill work, there's specificity, like there's working on the weaknesses. Like it's all the same thing. We're applying all the same tools, just the context is slightly different.
Yeah.
And so it's easy to like look at a pro and be like, oh shit, look what they can do. And it's like, yeah, that's amazing. Like, wow, a 20-hour training week, like that's massive. But the nuts and bolts of that training week is exactly the same as for an amateur.
Yeah. And I think that, what people always think is like that they're doing harder training, but like all this is proportional, right? Which is why like I hate I get like, oh, so-and-so is like a higher volume runner. And it's like, it's all proportional because you always have to be building on your baseline, oscillating up from your baseline to progress. So like for me, in order to get better, I have to do achieve, the certain adaptations I'm particularly looking to achieve with the 100 miler. I've got to do big 15 to 17 hour weeks to like get it done, to give my body the stimulus that it's not yet habituated to.
Right.
Some people are going to get more with less. Like you can do that with 9 to 12 hours. Awesome.
Sure.
It's all relative, right? Like it's all like departure from baseline. And I think the big thing to focus on is like the real big difference when it looks at volume is just a lot of times elite runners are doing more volume more slowly. Like when you actually look at the research, elites are much better at running at a lower percentage of their aerobic threshold than amateur runners are. Like when you look at when you look at the research, that's the big difference is that elites have learned to be extremely, writ large. There's always going to be people who do things different and do things wrong and bad.
And it's always going to be relative to their individual physiology. So you might look at them and be like, wow, they're doing all this volume and they're so fast.
Yeah.
But like probably the percentage of their threshold effort or their VO2 max that they're actually moving at is probably proportionately lower than yours.
Yeah, I would say
I think one of the best examples of that is like how Kipchoge is well known to run his recovery paces in the 9-minute miles.
Yeah.
When he's running 100-mile weeks and he races at like a 4-minute per mile marathon.
Yeah.
So
you can run slower than 9-minute miles.
Right. I tell this to all of my elite athletes who really have a very fast top end and struggle to run at an appropriate pace.
Yeah.
Like Kipchoge runs slower than you.
Yeah.
So do you think you should run this fast?
Yeah. Do you think you can bang out a 2:01 right now? Like, let's go.
You can't do it. Very few people can, there's like two guys on earth that can do that. And I think it's another thing to recognize is like the failure points are the same here. So, if you're doing too much intensity or not recovering well enough, if your easy days are too hard, you're going to blow up whether you're a pro or an amateur. And pros just tend to be way better at nailing the execution than amateurs.
Yeah. Agreed. And I think the big difference too is recovery margin, right? Like if
Yeah.
you are not working, if you don't have the demands of a family and like a 9 to 5, your recovery margin is really, really different. So that can change the training in some key ways just because you have more capacity to absorb the training. It doesn't
Right.
always fundamentally change the structure of the training, the how and the why of it. You just have more ability to absorb it because for a lot of amateur athletes, their limiter is their ability to recover. So it's funny because I think people look at pros and they're like, I want to do what he's doing or what she's doing. And they always want to mimic the doing
Yeah.
thing. Whereas a lot of times what you really would want to mimic, if at all possible, is the not doing
Yeah. Like,
thing.
what are they not doing?
Like that's the secret sauce is not doing things.
Yes.
You know?
No, totally.
Like if if I could wave a magic wand, I would not do a lot more things.
Right. Like everybody looks at the very obvious volume.
Mhm.
It's okay, more miles or more time or more vert. And instead they're not really looking at like more recovery,
Yeah, like
more sleep,
how many Netflix reps they're
right?
putting in.
More meals in the day,
Yeah.
more trips to the PT,
Mhm.
more time with their strength coach. And I think that's really, really important because like if we want to continue as athletes to progress year over year, our recovery capacity has to also increase as we bring up our training load.
Yeah.
For if you don't have a job, if your job is just to train, and that's labor, that's a job.
Mhm.
But if that's your job is, also very clear. It's very clear your part of your job is to recover.
Is to get off your feet.
And
Yeah.
so like you do for the rest of us out here who have a day job, we train and then we go to work.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest, I think, one of the biggest limitations in terms of continually to progressively doing more and more.
Yeah.
It's like, where do you find the time to recover?
Yeah.
Well, I have to do less at work or I have less extracurriculars or whatever.
Yeah. You have to take something off your plate. Like it has to come from somewhere. I'm curious if there's anything you think that amateurs should learn from or should like steal from elite perspectives.
Yeah. I mean, what can we learn from elites? We can really learn to slow our easy runs down.
Love it.
I think that's huge. Slow our recovery days down. Be Kipchoge. Go disproportionately slower than your marathon pace.
Yeah.
When you run your recovery days.
Double your marathon pace.
I think also like just see a lot of athletes who make the mistake of not sleeping enough.
Yeah.
They think they're getting enough and then their sleep hours come across in training peaks and it's like, okay, it's 6 hours, 6.5 hours. It's like, that's just not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Like the research really suggests we have to get more than 7 hours.
Yeah.
And 8 hours or more is better. This is one of the cases where more is better.
Yep.
And it's better to chase that, figure out a way to make that happen. If you're chronically sleep deprived, getting less than 7 hours a night, you're going to get injured.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to handle that volume. This is one thing that, pros are going to be really strict about. I think they're also really good at not making up missed workouts. They're way better at seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like
just training in a more disciplined, like just improvising less, going way less off vibes.
Less off vibes. They stick to the plan better overall. They understand the value of structure and protocol.
Yeah.
And coaching advice.
Yeah.
To be quite frank with people. Like a lot of amateurs struggle to get out of their own way. They think they are the authority. And even if they've hired somebody to help
I listen to a podcast.
Right. No, and like we see that a lot. Like, I don't know. I used to get really frustrated by that, like as a coach. And now I just consider it just like something that's part of the process. Like everybody has that.
Everyone has to learn a couple of hard lessons in training.
Hopefully they stick around long enough to learn from those lessons.
Yes.
But what we also learn is like a lot of people can get confronted with their first roadblock in the training process, and then they simply just quit.
Yeah.
So if you're an athlete out there who has worked through a meaningful roadblock in your athletic career, you didn't quit.
Boom.
Congratulations, you're part of this very select few. Most people just simply won't do that.
Yeah.
Pros will do that. They'll work through an injury. They'll see through the protocol to get healthy. They'll stick with it.
Yeah.
They'll be very disciplined. they're also much more okay with the boring, consistent work
Mm-hmm.
of like, I've done this workout 20 times, but like I can still get adaptations from it. So I'll
Right.
do it again. I don't need something novel every week to help me maintain my focus and my attention.
Yeah.
That is something that honestly, a lot of amateurs really struggle with that. They have a feeling that they need to be entertained by the training and it needs to change.
It's always got to be fancy and he does this super specific thing.
I remember over the winter, my coach was like, we don't need to do more than 4x10 for every threshold workout because like, you're just going to keep getting better off 4x10. And he gave me like this whole rationale for like, why.
Yeah.
And so like, we did like, I don't know, 8 weeks of 4x10 2 times a week.
Yeah.
I was like, God, good Lord, this is so much like 4x10. But like, yeah, you know, it works.
Yeah.
Why change it?
Yeah.
If you don't need to. There's no need to add more stress if you have a sufficient amount of stress. I think also, you know, elites don't really chase the mileage. Mm-hmm. They are much better at being comfortable at following the plan and letting it evolve over time. Rather amateurs, you know, they're going to play for the Strava volume. They're going to play for the showy stats.
Love a chart. Love a trophy.
Yeah. And again, like elites don't really race their workouts. They just stick to the prescribed effort level. Mm-hmm. They don't need to, you know, flash it. Everyone's on a spectrum with this, by the way. So I'm definitely generalizing here.
Absolutely. A lot of generalizations. Because like, I'm sure you can get on YouTube right now and find a 23-year-old male pro runner who's doing the opposite of everything we just said.
100%.
And I'm happy for him and I will see him on the course. You know, can't wait.
All right. I hope people enjoyed that. I think it's always fun to look at. And for us, like, you know,
I think it's the thing that surprises people is how it's not that different.
Right.
Like, I think people are always like, oh, I know you work with elites. And like, I'm not elite. And it's like, it's the same. Like,
it is really similar.
It's really the same.
Just the dose.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. The dose is different. And you can get to a place where you can do professional level volume within the context of your actual life. Like you and I are both great examples of that. I average 15 hours a week for
just did 17
for my lead build. In the context of running an entire business.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's not easy all the time. There's many days where I wish I could just cancel a call with an athlete and lie in bed.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really difficult, but it's totally possible.
Yeah.
And if you find creative ways to sneak the recovery in, over time, you get better at that. Your capacity grows and your ability to do more training and absorb it increases. And like, that's kind of a fun part of this.
Yeah. We eat a lot. We rest a lot. I laid in bed all day Saturday after my shitty run. I watched
those weekends.
A 3-hour documentary about the Romantic poets and how they shaped modern British movements. So that was, you know, really something. That's where I'm at.
All right, let's talk about eccentric loading. Let's get into the main part of this podcast.
Downhill. So I think that I would say that I think eccentric loading is something that a lot of people mess up in downhill running, something a lot of people get wrong because everyone thinks about training the uphill on purpose, right? Like you can really know when that's a weakness of yours. And in most mountain races, you spend, you know, a little more time going up, but you can definitely lose a lot of efficiency on the downs. And I feel like a lot of athletes just skip. They're like, well, I'm not good at downhills. Boop, I'm just going to go over that. And people won't think about doing it intentionally because it maybe doesn't feel like training in quite the same way.
Yeah.
But your quads will be feeling it. So I kind of want to go through with you, if you could sort of break down what eccentric loading is and like how it actually works in the body.
And even before that, I think if you're a road runner, don't turn this podcast off because this still applies to you guys. You know, Boston is one of those marathons that has a big net downhill.
Yep.
And what is the other one? CIM?
CIM, I mean,
Colorado Monument, Colorado.
The Colorado Marathon is the one that really trashes
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's where quads go to die.
So this is for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is eccentric loading? So uphill and flat running, that's concentric. And what that is the muscle shortens while producing force. And in like as you push yourself along.
Right.
The downhill kind of flips that around. So your quad produces force while being lengthened. And this is the eccentric contraction that we're talking a lot about.
Yeah.
And that's what is happening because your muscle is kind of working as a braking force. When you're further away from the ground, those braking forces they increase. So the closer you are to the ground, running on a flatter surface, there are less of those eccentric contractions.
Right.
You do still have some.
Yeah.
But as you go downhill, you get further and further away from the ground. And so that eccentric force is greater. And that creates a lot of damage in the quads.
I do want to sort of magic school bus a little bit and take us inside of a muscle to understand, again, like the physiology, because I think that will help. I think that always helps people train more intentionally. So if we were to zoom into a muscle fiber, it's basically this large chain of sarcomeres, which are these little contractile units, and they line up end to end, kind of like beads on a string. What's also interesting is they're not all identical. Some will be weaker, some will be stronger than their neighbors, so you sort of get this uneven chain. So, under eccentric load, the chain is being pulled apart while it resists. Those weaker sarcomeres will stretch first and get pulled past the points where the filaments of the muscle still overlap. So, once they get past that point, they can't generate force at all. They pop, and their share of the load transfers to their neighbors, which also can then pop too. So, that's wave one of what happens inside the muscle.
Okay,
and you're like, okay, I'm troubled. That's like the mechanics of what's going on, and that's happening during the run, not after. So those popped sarcomeres damage the membrane around the fiber, and calcium leaks in, which calcium should not be in there. So that calcium activates enzymes that break down proteins. The immune system comes along and is like, oh my God, we gotta clean this mess up. And that's like what happens after a run. And that's why the soreness or DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, usually peaks a day or two later instead of immediately. So all of that is to say, like the practical version, why it's important to understand the physiology is you lose real force output, not just comfort. It's not just that it doesn't feel good. It actually doesn't do good as much. So measurable strength deficits after hard descent can run 20% or more, right? Like you still want those sarcomeres when you're going uphill after you've just descended. I just had a flash in my head of like the super long descent at Run Rabbit and just my sarcomeres. Yeah, popping off.
It's such a long descent.
Yeah. So usually that soreness clears in a few days, but your force can still be down up to a week later, which is why athletes might feel okay, but race flat, and why a lot of times, particularly events with a good bit of descending, particularly technical descending, can really have that long recovery tail. So, again, that damage itself isn't the training stimulus. Go back and listen to last week's episode on recovery. The adaptation we want comes from exposure and recovery, not just from the destruction. So, that's, I think, the really important thing to understand.
So I want people to also understand that the body doesn't know miles or elevation loss. It only knows the stress of the training session that you're doing.
Which is why we train by time.
Yes. So downhill is a stress. And this is one like your heart rate monitor can't see.
Yeah.
Also your RPE. It feels easy aerobically to run downhill.
Yeah.
It's not as stressful on the aerobic system because there's low oxygen cost. Your heart rate is lower. But there is maximum mechanical loading going downhill. So although it's easy on the aerobic system, it is very difficult on your musculoskeletal system.
Yeah, which is also why I don't love athletes doing anything like steep at all on recovery days, because even if it feels easy, like keep it as flat as you can.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think it's important to, consider that how we approach this training allows us to be prepared for whatever the demands are of our upcoming race. And so we have this thing called the repeat bout effect.
I love this.
That we want athletes to embrace and try to, incorporate in their training.
Yes.
And so how do you
think about that, and how do you think about structuring it into athletes' training?
I really focus on this in terms of the long runs,
Yeah.
and then maybe the workout day
Yeah. Or a boot camp.
or boot camp. Absolutely, boot camp is a great time to do this because we can get like 2 or 3 very long days where we have that repeat bout effect.
Yeah.
Throughout each session. I'm kind of imagining like you going to Steamboat and like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to run up the resort and then down to Fish Creek Falls. And then I'm going to go up to Summit Lake and down to Dry Creek. And it's like, wow, those are 2 really long descents.
Yes.
And so that's gonna be hours of breakdown because those descents take hours.
Yeah.
But then when you actually think about the context of your race, well, you need to be prepared for those hours of descending. And if you're not, you're gonna be in big trouble by the time you get to the big haul.
Yeah.
So do one bout of downhill running, and then the next one is going to damage you dramatically less. And so this is because our body does build back faster. This time for adaptations is much quicker.
Yes.
There's going to be less soreness, less force loss, and faster recovery after that second session. And then after the third, and then after the fourth. Like there is a nice cascading effect here.
Yeah.
So if you do focus on that, on your long runs over the course of 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to be pretty darn durable for your trail race. Or if you're working that into your marathon training and you're getting out there and running some downhills and all of your long runs, by the time you get to mile 18 at Boston, you're going to be feeling pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that what's really cool is that when you actually, again, like look at the structure of the muscle, that sort of the protective quality of repeat bout effect appears within a week. It'll be strongest in the first couple of weeks, but it meaningfully persists for 4 to 6 weeks before you fade, which is great. Cause like, that's why we sort of time the bigger peak long runs 4 to 6 weeks out from a, bigger ultra, and why you really don't want to be doing huge descents like 2 weeks, 10 days before, because then you can sort of be in the shadow of that destruction where you still feel the fatigue, you still have the negative impacts, but you haven't yet recouped the positive impacts.
And I think also like a couple important things here, it's not just the structural integrity that improves where your muscle adds the sarcomeres, but also your nervous system learns to spread that load out, and it recruits more motor units and distributes them better. So this stops that dumping effect that we were talking about earlier, which then kind of creates this situation where a small pool of fibers get overly fatigued. There's also, benefits on a cellular level too. And I think it's important to remember that if we're not doing this stuff, we don't realize these adaptations.
Right.
And so getting onto race specific terrain is going to be one of the keys, but it's not just getting to a place where you can run the same elevation change per mile. It's also considering the profile.
Yes.
Like if your race has a 1,000-foot descent over 5 miles, and in training you do 5 250-foot hills over and over, that's a meaningful different stress, even though it's the same elevation change per mile.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that, the first day where you do a bunch of descending is always the worst. And so that'll always feel worse. And then you don't have to do a bunch to keep reinforcing that stimulus, which is the good news.
And you don't necessarily have to run those downhills any harder than you would on race day.
No, I always don't do downhill workouts.
Right. I always tell athletes at race pace is good, or slightly faster if you're feeling spicy, if you're having a good day. But you don't need to do more than that in order to prepare the legs. So let's talk a little bit about a couple technical skills. I think it's important to recognize that braking increases our eccentric load.
Yeah. So what happens here is that every time your foot lands out in front of your center of mass, you're hitting the brakes, and your entire leg, particularly your quad, is going to pay the price for that. So a lot of times getting faster going downhill is just about braking less. We don't need to reinvent the wheel, just stopping yourself as much as you are. So some things that I think can really help in terms of reducing braking on descents and really technical descents are shortening your stride and raising your cadence. You don't need to count it. You don't need to overthink it. Just think quick, light steps that land closer underneath you and split the total load into more smaller impacts. I think what happens when you see these sort of timid athletes is they're over investing in any one footstep rather than like maybe no one of those footsteps is all that great, but you're just taking more of them.
You're like Fred Astaire on the dance floor.
Exactly.
A lot of tap dancing.
Yes. And, think about lean with the hill from the ankles, not the waist. A lot of times you'll see people kind of sit back and do what I call taking a back seat, which feels safe, but it is also the position that guarantees you're maximizing your braking. So that's the single biggest error I see is like athletes sitting back. So like activate your core. I think one of the best, and we'll talk about strength training, but having a strong core is truly one of the best in like stability, balance, life-changing for downhill running.
You want to attack the down.
Yes.
Honestly, you want to lean down the hill.
Yes.
That's going to help you utilize gravity.
Yeah.
Gravity
is your friend.
A lot of those quick steps are key. I tell athletes like practice being smooth rather than being fast.
Mm-hmm.
If you're smooth, you're going to be automatically limiting braking.
Yeah.
Because braking is not smooth. Like if you've ever been on the highway in a car with somebody who's trying to drive 65 and they're, instead of putting it on cruise control, they touch the accelerator, then they take their foot off, then they hit the accelerator again, then they bring their foot off.
I feel like you're critiquing
then they
my
touch
driving.
the accelerator, and it's just like this herky-jerky ride. Wow, that's a shitty ride. Like,
oh my God.
let's get smooth with it. Let's hit the cruise control button.
Yes. Yeah.
So really think about that. Keep a nice relaxed upper body.
Relaxed and loose, like you're dancing.
Yes. Fred Astaire is my visualization.
And another mistake people make is they want to look right down at their feet. You actually don't want to do that. You want to look 3 to 5 strides ahead.
Yeah.
And again, just stay relaxed. I always think about relaxing my feet. Like if you're gripping with your toes, that a lot of times means your legs are insufficiently relaxed. If your leg is tense, it will be stiff, and a stiff leg will transmit more force into the tissue instead of absorbing it. So relax, right? Like all of these counterintuitive things. Yeah. Don't look at your foot, relax, look ahead, don't take a back seat, lean into it.
A couple notes here on this being a technical skill and a learned skill and not a fitness problem. I think is really important. Folks tend to sometimes, if they're newer, especially to trail running, get kind of exhausted by how demanding these long downhills are. And that's not a fitness issue.
Yes.
That's just lack of practicing and building this competence. So on smooth descents, remember that speed comes from your mechanics, having good biomechanics, good form. On technical descents, speed comes from information processing. So looking ahead in the trail, knowing what terrain is coming, anticipating it. In skilled descenders, their skilled descenders are going to run with a lot more ability to scan ahead on that trail and choose a line and kind of program where they're going to go before their foot ever arrives. Yeah. Like unskilled descenders are going to be much more reactive as the terrain is coming. They're going to be, move the foot here, move the foot there. Their eyes are going to be right down at their feet, like you were mentioning before. And then that takes a lot more like neuromuscular control to be able to run like that. And then after a while, contact is going to stiffen up. Those legs are going to get tighter. And that's going to be very demanding on the body and more damaging.
Yeah. And I think people are always looking for like, is there something that just helps you like turn off the fear, like get around it? And no, you just have to practice. Like exposure therapy is the only thing that works because fear is what makes descending way worse because nervous runners will co-contact. And what that does is they'll fire their quads and hamstrings against each other, which basically locks the joints and removes the suspension. Like when you're feeling timid, when you're unsure, when you're not feeling super balanced. So that confidence isn't just a mindset. If you are more relaxed, you're more committed, that's going to literally take less tissue damage over the same descent. And it's really important to capture and maintain that momentum. So momentum is that stability on loose ground because slowing down, again, counterintuitively, makes your footing worse, not better, because a braking foot slides, whereas a light foot doesn't. So like, again, don't overinvest in any one foot. Like really just like lean into it. That's really the only thing to do.
A couple quick tips. Train the eyes.
Yes.
So like you can repeat a section of trail that's technical, try to find the line and practice looking ahead 5-6 paces, and just repeat that terrain. I think that's really, really important, and gradually increase the technicality of that terrain.
Yeah.
Start with like smooth road and then work your way up to difficult trail. Varying the surface and all of that, rock, scree, loose dirt, wet is all great too. But I think you should build on one skill at a time. So like stick to a rocky trail first, then, go to a trail that has like roots or things, different kinds of obstacles.
Yeah.
Get used to one, then the other, then combine them. And always start at an effort level where you're not going to be surprised by like how fast your speed comes up or how fast the terrain and obstacles are coming up for you. Slower is almost always better because it limits braking forces.
Yeah.
So go at a pace that feels smooth, even if it's almost a walk. If that's where you're at to start, that's fine. Start there. You'll be able to go faster on terrain that has less obstacles. You're always going to go slower on terrain that has more obstacles.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe for feet, keep ground contact time short, try to keep your feet landing underneath you. Don't overthink one step.
Yeah.
Like when you're hitting the ground on one foot, you should already be thinking like 2 more steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
And just continuing to keep that flow down the line that you're trying to descend.
Yeah. And then I just want to touch on strength work, because I think this is something people also get wrong. I think they like sort of overestimate how helpful it is, or they ignore it. And neither of those is like exactly right. Like we kind of exist in the messy middle. So strength work does support downhill running, but it absolutely doesn't replace it, right? Like there is no hack. You do actually have to practice the thing. Nothing that you can do in a gym will reproduce the impact frequency of an hour of descending. So don't try. That's not the goal here. What it does buy is tissue tolerance, plus some load you can carry away from your running, which is good. So the variable here that really matters is that tempo, because if you slow the lowering phase to 3 or 4 seconds and control it. So what this looks like in practice is things like split squats, step downs off a box are great. Single leg squats to a bench, Nordic curls are also great. And we really want to focus on things being single leg whenever possible, because running is a single leg sport, and particularly trail running is asymmetric, and balance is helpful. So those are some things I like. Also core, right? Like we have this saying that you can't fire a cannon from a shaky canoe. And if you have no ability to stabilize the parts of your body that aren't your legs, you're going to have a bad time. So having a strong functional core that you train it by using your limbs like a lever. So, I would not go ham on strength work on top of new descending stimulus. And sometimes we'll see athletes whip out poles on the downs. I'm personally not a huge fan of this. If you're, doing something extreme like hard rock or UTMB, I think that's a slightly different case. But I think a lot of people end up using them more like crutches, and that you're using them a lot of times as brakes. Like it is very hard to use poles theoretically correctly on descents. So I think it's much better to just train that competency and put the sissy sticks away.
I love it. All right, guys. I hope you found that helpful. As always, microcosmcoaching@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. Join the community, get involved in the conversations, and also check us out, microcosm-coaching.com. We'll see y'all next week.